at McMuscles, and today we're going in deep. How deep, you ask? Well, as deep as we legally can, which is the best type of— I'm talking about video games. That's all it is. Just needed to make that clear. And with that said, the dark holes and crevasses we'll be poking and prodding around in today belong to one of my favorite games of all time, Capcom's seminal beat-em-up Final Fight. Yeah, did you guys know that I like Final Fight? Oh, okay, I thought I should mention it. So the first thing we see when we start up Le Fight Finale is the iconic map of Metro City. We can see that it's glowing red with crime. These types of maps were used in many later Capcom button bashers in the 90s and hell became a mainstay for the genre as a whole. I personally think they're pretty cool as they help establish whatever city or location we're in as a real place, and not just a nebulous collection of levels floating out in the ether. Our very next shot is of masculinity himself, Mike Hagar, who is hunched over his desk, probably wondering how he's going to raise enough money to resupply his city's shocking decline of crates and oil drums. Oh shit, what am I gonna do? Since we are playing the American version of Final Fight here, our first little quirk reveals itself. The Mad Gear crony, Damned, instructs Mike to turn on his TV. Mike does so, and immediately flies in a mustache-fueled rage by saying, "You son of a..." Or, if you're playing the Japanese Sega CD version... Oh, okay, why is Mike doing this? Well, because he should be reacting to footage of his daughter, Jessica, bound to a chair, wearing far fewer articles of clothing on his TV, which is certainly worthy of shouting. But since that small bit of the intro was cut out for North America, he's simply staring at Damned, and Damned just stares back at him awkwardly. It's weird. Anyway, jumping ahead, we see the snack! That is Cody Travers, and of course, Ninja Shoes himself, Guy. This part is also kinda weird, as Cody informs Guy that Jessica has been kidnapped, but Guy makes it seem like he has no idea who or what that is. He then immediately states that she is his friend as well, and vows to rescue her. Guy, do you know Jessica or not? Oh right, your girlfriend since you were kids, yeah. Yeah, right, sorry dude, I was in the back getting blazed. That about sums up the intro, but something has to be said for the sheer amount of world building and story that's packed in here. Remember, this is 1989. This level of narrative for an arcade game would almost classify it as like a goddamn RPG. We've met all three heroes, know what's on the line, who the antagonistic force is, and where this is all going down, all in the span of like 60 seconds. This clearly beats the arcade game with the second most in-depth story. Next, we have the Select Your Hero screen, which is all types of classic. You're given a lot of useless information here though, like their height and their weight, okay, whatever. Surprised it doesn't have their astrological sign and blood type. Jesus, just look at that slab of beef Hagar calls a torso there. Okay, the anatomy is a little suspect here and here, but hey, it gets him across as the big, strong guy, and to balance that, on the far left of the screen, you have just normal guy. This here is the spectrum of power, people. Cody is right where he belongs, in the middle. Why don't you just meet me in the middle? And for the sake of this video, and just to make things a little bit easier as I play, we'll be sticking with Cody. You're welcome, Zonk Knuckle. Now, here is the first screen of the game, and holy 80s Christ, is it a doozy. We got 6 oil drums, flanked by 3 Mad Gears with Jessica in tow. Your chosen character walks in, Damn cackles his cackle, you smash the obstacles in your way, and it's time to get it on! The first thing you notice here is Final Fight's sublime pixel art. The Capcom mandate for this game was big. Big everything. Big enemies, sprites, effects, backgrounds, weapons, and wheelchairs. The whole 9 oil drums. Capcom producers felt this would give the game a greater impact and help it stand out, and it did. Final Fight was a massive hit the year it came out, and the giant eye-catching visuals were certainly one of the main reasons behind its success. Before we get into gameplay though, now would be a good time to let y'all know that I'm playing the Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection version of Final Fight here. I used to think the best port you could easily get your hands on was the Double Impact release, but this new one doesn't have that super annoying vault notification popping up every 30 seconds, so by that measure, it's the best. You are first greeted with a couple of Mad Gears that make dramatic entrances from the Dick Door, their sprites impressively emerging from the darkness of the Dick Door. And these first couple of enemies in the game pose no real threat, so a few punches from Cody is enough to make short work of them. Here, we find our first pickup, a point item which looks like a faded wad of cash, or yen. Yeah, we'll see that Final Fight is indeed a product of Japan, despite Capcom trying their best to emulate 80s American cinema.
Now why don't you tell me your name?
Tom Cody. Pleased to meet you.
I'll be coming for her. And I'll be coming for you too.
Anyway, we have a few more gears to take out, and with enemies this low level, a good tactic is to perform the downward jumping attack, performed by pressing down and attack while jumping, then immediately canceling it into a regular jumping attack, and in this case, that's Cody's kick. This can count as 2 quick hits if you time it right, and it's a fun way to take out weaker dudes. Who are not weaker dudes, you ask? Well, before you finish this first scene, 2 strapping young lads waltz in, that being Hollywood and Axel. Both present the first wrinkle in the beat-em-up blanket, as Axel can block, which can cause all types of problems if he's within a group. However, flying solo, just throw him and just get on with your life. Hollywood can leap through the air and also shank you, but neither of them pose a super big threat right now. Well, they will later. Oh, we'll see. Just to reiterate, I'm not doing a speed run here, and I'm not showing you optimal strats, by the way. I mean, I'm at McMuscles. You shouldn't be expecting that, and I'm not giving it to you. Just punch everyone. Let's move on. You then transition into what seems to be an opium den, box factory, or maybe it's just a place for Mad Gears to support each other, just chill, whatever. Hey, I'm Cody, I'm here to kill everything! The big takeaway from this scene is that you really get a sense that our heroes are literally bursting in anywhere screaming, "You hurt my testicles!" and beating anything with a heartbeat until it doesn't. I like this midpoint of the level though, as it features some moody lighting giving it a unique atmosphere. I mean, Metro City is a shithole, and this game does a great job of expressing shithole time and time again. You also get lots of opportunities to knife wield here, and if you're Cody, and I know I am, it's time for Stabby McStab time. Mr. Travers is the only character where in his hands, weapons behave differently, because if Hagar or Guy pocket a knife, they can't get rid of it fast enough and whip it at the first person they see. Cody, however, relishes that feel of steel in his hands and can stab enemies up to a certain range. If foes get too far away, however, he'll just be like, fuck it, and toss it away too. Pushing ahead, this is also the area where we are introduced to some rotund enemies of considerable corpulency. G. Oribur and Bilbo. Not the best named enemies in the game, but they pack a wallop with the Russian attack. But once Cody has murdered them, he'll bash open the nearby door and make his way topside again. If you are low on health here, there is a meaty treaty inside this nearby stack of tires. Ew. So then you stab these 2 guys here who are just minding their own business, and then make your way to the front of the building for the climactic showdown of the game. Oh shit, here comes Damned! He's the one who grabbed Jessica. Well, one quick beat down to go, and that's the end of that chapter. You can speed up the process of Damned's hospitalization with a technique that only Cody and Guy can execute, sorry Hagar, which is punch looping. Basically, before you strike the enemy with the final blow of your 3-hit combo, which knocks them down, you then quickly tap back, which cancels the last hit and allows you to punch infinitely. This was of course referenced with Cody's super combo attacks in future Street Fighter titles. It takes some good timing and rhythm to get down and is an actual speedrunning technique. I can do it, but not very well. My hands get sweaty and I get really nervous as the combo racks up and I wind up dropping it quite a bit. Okay, sue me. So it's very much possible to tag Damned here and drain his entire life bar, but since I dropped the loop, he jumps to the side and calls in for backup. This helps establish Damned though as a sneaky heel who'd rather have his cronies wear you down than participate in a fair fight. Another enemy that gets introduced during this showdown is not Poison herself, Roxy. Yeah, Roxy is actually introduced first in Final Fight and can flip and tumble with the best of them. And despite all this, it doesn't take much more effort to put Damned down for the count. And wait, what? Where's Jessica? Well, it seems like all the Mad Gear bosses have been hot potatoing her around to each other. So sorry, Hagar, your daughter's in another slum. An additional detail here, though, is that during the fight, Dan would periodically sit on a stone structure just off screen, and we can now see that it's a subway entrance, which leads into Round 2. So let's unfurl our ancient scroll here. We can see that Cody and Co. need to take the tube to get to where they're going, continuing their bloody swath through the city. So in this subway station, things start to get a bit more hectic, a bit more wild as a train car pulls in with a mighty rumble and bam! Poison suddenly backflips into the scene, as well into everyone's hearts. Not to be outdone, we are also formally introduced to the feet, fists, and ass of one Andore Jr., who is always a threat with his pile driver that can often kill you in one hit. But once you've cleared out the platform, it's time for Capcom to... Inside a moving subway car is a really cool place for a brawl, and a brawl you will fucking have. This is the first instance the game throws a lot of enemies at you, a lot of fast. It's a tough battle, but you are rewarded at the very end of the car with a bevy of barrels bursting with bounty, including knives and grapes. Try to get everyone on one side and slash away with Old Needle to end this part of the level. You then take the subway tracks themselves to find more Mad Gears and wait. Whoa. Did they purposely stop the subway to halt your progress? There's absolutely no evidence to support this, so let's go with yes. This then leads to the end of the line where your hero will show a superhuman display of grace and power as they launch over a fence and into... a wrestling ring? This is one of the weirder transitions in the game. Maybe it's missing a few steps in between because it makes it seem like this ring is directly connected to an underground subway tunnel. I don't know. I doubt this is the Metro City Dave Lang Memorial Arena, so I'm just going to assume it's some type of underground fight club. Oh, like the one in Streetwise. Once you've stepped into the square circle, you're going to be facing off against Weeb Master Supreme, Sodom. He's very predictable, but also real quick, and has crazy reach with his katana blades. You can time your hits and tag him with a punch loop, but he's a much harder fight than Damned overall. Sodom would have a career in Capcom later on, his peak of course being the distinction of the only fighter from Alpha that never returned in Street Fighter 4 or 5. With all that out of the way, we now move on to Round 3. But before that, it's time to smash a car for literally no reason. One of the most iconic bonus stages in all of video gamedom, replicated in many others, and of course most famously in Capcom's own Street Fighter 2, Final Fight lets you know that there's 3 points of interest on this automobile, which I guess has been imported from Japan. That being the windows on each side as well as the hood. This act of vandalism is incredibly easy, and by the end, you just feel exhilarated. And really, it's a victimless crime.
Oh my god!
Anyway, back on task. We next head to the west side, which features a lot of nightlife, clubs, restaurants, etc. It's also the evening now as a pale moon hovers overhead, signaling the slaughter that is to come. Our first thing of note here is that pink-clad Andore we all know and love and fear, sometimes called Hugo. But in Final Fight, he is now no longer Andore Jr., but henceforth will be known as Andore. You make your way into a bar that can't really decide the proper scale of the background and foreground NPCs. It's just all over the place. What I do like here is just how populated this stage makes Metro City feel. There's so many bystanders that seem partially interested in all the intense fighting. Nothing to see here, merry old business, go back to your drinks. We also meet the very, 80s character of Wong Wu, a palette swap of the roly-poly boys from earlier. There's also a heavy injection of firewoods, or fire-based Hollywoods who throw Molotov cocktails in packed bars.
Wait a minute. There's something bothering me about this place. I know! This lesbian bar doesn't have a fire exit!
Fortunately, these guys only take one hit to put down and net you a good amount of points, so murder them as soon as they scuttle into the scene. You then bash your way into the back room where you... Oh shit. You are bam-fucking-boozled and dropped into a cage match against two Andores, both of the F and G variety. There's a bunch of weapons lying around, grab them if you can, and if you're not consistent with punch looping, like me, you just take out one of the nearby instruments of destruction and hope you can get both big boys on either side of you. Do this and you'll hopefully make your way out of the cage with minimal damage. I do really like this swerve though, as it comes out of absolutely nowhere, and if you don't know how to deal with it, it can be devastating, like emotionally. You pick right back up at the ass end of the restaurant where one swift kick leads back out onto the streets, and it seems like the west side is also home to Metro City's Chinatown? Now, we don't have the exact city plans on hand, but it's never been 100% revealed what boroughs actually make up the entirety of Mayor Hagar's turf. In Streetwise, though, there is an actual Japantown, so I don't really... God, I gotta stop referencing Streetwise. Let's just move on. A few more waves of baddies later, and past a weird graveyard of small green cars, lies the third boss, corrupt cop Eddie E. His design varies on what game you're looking at, but he's a man of significant carriage who can club you with his billy club and even fires a gun across the stage to snipe you from long range. He's actually not that hard and has a set pattern he falls into where he crosses the screen, then fires his gun and bursts, and if he shoots ya... It's gonna hurt! Before I forget, at the start of this fight, you can pick up his discarded gum. I mean, if you want, it's worth a lot of points, so yeah, pick it up. After viciously beating a police officer, you have cleared round 3 and then enter the industrial area of Metro City, filled with the booming business of flames. Yeah, this section is the first instance of stage hazards outside the odd rolling barrel, and if you're not careful, you can take some considerably nasty burns. Fortunately though, so can your enemies. This then leads into a torrent of mad gears who box you in against the wall, and by this point they should have a lot more health as we are halfway through the game, so things are getting tougher and final fightier. If you survive this wave, you are then introduced to one of the coolest sections of the game with an elevator ride that leads up to the round 4 boss. This background look familiar at all? Well, it should, as it was later homaged in Street Fighter Alpha 2. Enemies drop down from above, and there's not a lot of room to maneuver as this area doesn't scroll. It's not a breeze by any stretch, as it's filled to burst with poisons, Hugos, and Elgatos. But if you survive long enough, some items will drop down to help perk you right back up. Now we have the total bastard, Rolento. He can be one of the tougher bosses as he's insanely quick-footed, zipping around the arena with his cool after images and lobbying grenades from above. If you're lucky, you can poke him at the right time and get him in a loop, or simply cause enough damage and just rinse and repeat. It can often be a battle of attrition, but it winds up being a cool fight no matter how you tackle it. Also of note, Rolento must be a fan of Mortal Kombat Deception because he doesn't hesitate committing harakiri. This ends round 4. Before taking a jolly stroll to the Bay Area stage, however, let's hold up a minute and take a quick detour to another, far stranger bonus stage. Here, panes of glass are suspended by an automatic pane of glass suspender, and you have to move to the right while smashing every single one. You have only a scant 20 seconds to do this, and it's easy to fuck it up, so yeah, don't fuck it up. I do like, however, that this bonus stage is properly themed to the level you were just in. You were in the factory, and we're smashing glass in a factory. Every stanza rhymes with the last. But now we're entering hell, and its name is the Bay Area stage of Metro City, round 5. We've been final fighting all night, and you can see the sun peeking up as we make our way through this long slog to the right side of the screen. Unlike many of the other stages that feature multiple sections, this is one continuous line that throws more enemies at you than should be legally allowed. Every punk you face thus far will make their presence known here, and you better have their gimmicks and behavior memorized or the bad times you will be in for. Of note in the Bay Area is the surprising appearance of a hype dog. Hopefully he can boost your morale a bit because you're going to get jumped by 2 Andores from either side of the screen. For God's sake, don't get near them and eat a pile driver. You know, like I did. At this point, the game starts to feel really bad for throwing all this shit at you, so you will find a decent amount of food and weapons, but they are spaced out the max distance you'll need them whilst on this conveyor belt of carnage. Also, what type of madman would use the public bathrooms in Metro City? I don't care how sexy they are. After that, you'll have to contend with Cirque du Goddamn Soleil when a crapload of Poisons, Roxys, and Elgatos will do all their flippy whippy shit all over the place. Jump kicking them might help, but I don't know, just do your best. I support you. This is also a place you can easily despawn enemies on the left side of the screen if you consistently jump forward to the right, helpful for killing Andores. Once you see the shining beacon that is the Statue of Liberty, you know you've entered Endgame. This will be when Abigail emerges from the dreaded right corner. You know, Abigail! Remember him from Street Fighter V before Capcom nerfed him into oblivion? This will also be, hopefully, when you make the connection that it's this stage that also appears in Street Fighter V, further cementing the relationship between both franchises. Abigail here can be a massive pain in Cody's supple ass if you're not careful. And when I say careful, I mean extremely goddamn careful. He can kill you in 1 or 2 moves, and if he's glowing red with crime energy, to stay the hell away. You can dunk on him with a well-placed kick if you're cool and tough like me, but otherwise just stay away and pick your shots. Again, these are bad strats. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, what sucks about Abigail is that at his core, he's just an Andori palette swap in this game, but it was acceptable in the 80s. If you manage to take him down, you'll be rewarded with beating the Bay Area stage, something he should be thankful for. Round 6. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here. Uptown might be the longest stage in the game, certainly in terms of miles walked and faces you'll need to punch. It also shows a progression in the state and upkeep of Metro City itself, as it's the only area that doesn't look like a bombed out war zone. This shows that whoever is behind Jessica's kidnapping has the capital and backing to have nestled deep into the heart of the towering skyscrapers and, of course, the confectionery country of the Nin. Okay, a straight strip of scrolling action greets you with nothing too crazy before you enter the marble entranceway of some type of building that's suddenly springing up from the concrete from outside. Lots of mag gears await inside before you're treated to an enemy-free ride, thank God, up to a small elevator. You then arrive on a rooftop park, complete with palm trees, in a New York style city, whatever. There's even less vertical room here to move around, so they throw lots of Molotovs and rolling barrels at you, and goddamn, how many enemies is that on screen? 5, 6, 9... 12! You are guaranteed to lose some lives here. In the next section, though, things get stupid as spooky haunted chandeliers, I guess, start to attack our heroes, I think. Just aggro some enemies, then walk under a chandelier to have it hopefully crash onto them. Yeah! This hallway is brutal, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's lots of Hugo Dores, even more barrels, but I guess it is appropriate. It's the final level. You are now in a penthouse overlooking the city skyline. While there's lots to smash and bash, don't forget to go behind all these pillars to pick up valuable point items. Diamonds, rubies, sapphires, jewel-encrusted dildos, you name it. You'd think Mad Gears would be tearing each other's assholes out, grabbing all these high-value gems for themselves, but whatever, they are hidden by the columns, so I guess in the video game space, they don't really exist. These columns can also mask a lot of enemy attack patterns, so always try to position yourself in a place where you can actually, see stuff. This is the final slog, featuring the toughest gears yet, so things are ramping up considerably as we make our way to the big bad. Belger. At first, this fight is hilarious as he's clutching Jessica like a rare shiny Pokemon while freewheeling around like Professor X while shooting at you with a crossbow, of all things, a crossbow. And that's old school. Oops, sorry, Jessica. Thankfully, with Cody's quick fists, you can punch these bolts out of the goddamn air. That's awesome. And after a few hits, Belger is blasted from his chair, and Jessica runs over and then plops to the ground in a heap. Don't worry, folks. She'll get all the help she needs. To be frank, Belger doesn't have a huge moveset, but bolsters his ranks with more enemies, and the fight can get pretty hectic. Stay on your feet, move around, maybe try to jump kick him if you can, but once his HP goes down and he starts hovering around the right corner of the screen, you know you got this in the bag. One more attack will send him careening through the glass window, and then try your best to replicate the intro of Final Fight 2, where it shows that Cody did the deed with an uppercut. That's canon! You are then treated to the satisfying sounds of an old man wailing to his death into what I assume is the back of a dump truck.
Oops!
All three heroes then magically appear, and Hagar consoles Jessica, but he's got a very intense look on his face, like he's happy he's found his daughter, but he's also like, did I leave the oven on before we left? Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. He does drop a bit of lore here though, saying that his wife died a few years prior, which is depressing. Thanks, Mike. Guy and Cody, silent and strong, confidently strut out of Belger's penthouse and into the inexplicable park and swimming pool flanked rooftop just outside. We are then treated to a moment of levity as Guy performs an ultra combo on Cody so as to force him to confront his girlfriend, which I don't think he ever had strong feelings for, really, not real feelings, other than her just being an excuse to crack skulls. Damn, Cody, you are a mystery trapped in a riddle, trapped in tight denim. I bet you he was actually super pissed whilst on vacation with her during Final Fight 2, knowing he could have been out on the streets punching more asses. I know it. But with that, my floppers, is the conclusion of Final Fight, an epic journey that easily trumps the likes of lesser, more lowbrow fiction such as Lord of the Rings or Dune. Like I said earlier, this is one of my most cherished games ever, and I hope you enjoyed this whirlwind tour of it. And if you know of any other short games or say intense, amazing single levels from other games you'd like me to go deep on, let me know in the comments below or check out the Flophouse VIP Patreon to vote on the next subject I might tackle. See you next time and hope you enjoy Going In Deep with me. That's the best name I could have come up with for this show.